NBA Youngboy is one of the hottest artists right now. He has already dropped 3 projects this year, and his new album Slime Cry is about to drop this month. On his last 2 projects, Deshawn and Maza, he used a couple of specific styles of beats, and one of them are those soulful beats. And I'm pretty sure you can expect some of those on his new project. That's why we are going to take a deep dive into the techniques used in those soulful beats. In this video, I'm going to break down a beat in that specific style, like on Combat Boots, or Finest. And I'm going in depth behind the techniques used in those beats. And now, without any further talk, let's hop right into the video. On those songs that I've just mentioned, you can notice one specific instrument as the base of the melody, and this is the Rhodes. That's why I opened up Keyscape and picked the Rhodes LA Custom preset. So the most important part when you lay down your chord progression is to keep it simple. I figured out that these NBA Youngboy soul type of beats live more by the sound design and which specific sounds you put together than that the chord progression is super complex in itself. The chord progression that I lay down is a 1, 5th, 4th chord progression. On the 2nd and the 3rd chord, we got like basic chords and just copy and pasted the root notes and put them down in octave. And the 1st chord is a little bit inverted, but it's just a basic 7th chord where I've just put up the 2nd note 1 octave and then copy and pasted the root note and brought it down in octave as well. And to make things more interesting, we've got some melodic parts going on in the first half of every 4 bars, but I wouldn't recommend to overdo that and just let the chords set the vibe. So for the effects, I've added a reverb, an EQ to bring down some of the lows, and a little bit of chorus. So the next part is where we can actually get a little bit more creative. Because what works really well with those Youngboy soul beats is the Rhodes as the bass and then a soulful piano top line in addition to that. And therefore I've opened up Keyscape again and picked the LA Custom Pop preset. This is one of these very heavy presets and works pretty well if you use it as the top keys. So as I said, this is the part where you can get creative. When you add those top keys, choose the parts where not a lot is going on already in your first instance so that those 2 instruments don't overlap each other. Something that adds a lot to that soul character is if you use some of those half-step notes here and there. I don't really know the music theory behind that, but that just adds exactly what you want in one of those NBA Youngboy soul beats. Try it out, sounds great, especially in your top keys. So for the effects, we've got a reverb again and a delay. And this might sound crazy to you, but once you got those 2 components down, it's all about simplicity and which sounds do you pick to add on. So on the first one that I've picked are some strings. So I opened up Omnisphere and chose one of my favorite string presets, which is the Hollywood string section. And as you can see, you don't need to be a musical genius to lay down what I've laid down. But as I said, it's all about simplicity, just adding the right sounds. This is definitely one of those. And it also has no effects on it. Another one of those instruments that you need to create that soulful NBA Youngboy bounce, of course I'm talking about the bass. And since I'm a broke ass music producer in his 20s and I don't have the money for Rico Bico bass, I used the Ample Bass P-Lite 2, which is completely for free and is my go-to bass. All you gotta do is follow your root notes and add a couple of bouncy notes here and there. So let's move on to the accent sounds and the last melodic components. So first of all, we got this famous NBA Youngboy wah guitar that you can hear in a bunch of his beats, which is also included in my Lonely Cloud kit, which you can get with the first link in the video description. This kit has a bunch of guitar phrases, live guitar counters, 20-something loops, drum kit, top keys, bunch of accent sounds. That's interesting for you. As I said, check out the first link in the video description. And I've also dropped a pretty cool loop kit recently with 20 placement ready loops, like in a style of NBA Youngboy, Young and Ace, Lil Durk, Rod Wave, even Rilo and Hancho. So if that's interesting for you, check out the second link in the description. So let's move on to the next accent sound, which is actually another wah guitar, but I got this one from Splice. It's a pretty simple one, so you could easily, if you have a little bit of guitar skills, play by yourself. If you got the right guitar amp to replicate like that wah sound. And then we also have one of those soulful vocals, which you can also get from Splice, or you get vocal runs, or you use house, arcade, all great options. And the last melodic component is the saxophone, and therefore, as you can imagine now, I also used Splice. I'm not partnered with Splice, I'm no testimonial, it's just the biggest sound library, as you all know probably. And the last accent sound that I've added is a perk loop to finish things up, and that's everything you need to put together a soulful NBA Youngboy type of loop. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it is all about the sound selection and putting together the right sounds, and those are definitely some sounds that work really well together, and as long as your foundation is great, then you are good to go. I wouldn't recommend to overcomplicate everything with a bunch of different complex melodies. Just stack the right sounds together and you will end up with something cool. Don't overthink it, just do it. So without any further talk, here's our final loop. So let's get into the drums now. So of course we start things off with the hi-hats, since I feel like that's the part where you create their typical NBA Youngboy bounce. So and how you do that is quite simple. So of course we start with the two-step pattern just to get that basic rhythm going. What you actually want to do is add a bunch of those breaks. I feel like that's one of the most noticeable elements in NBA Youngboy beats. You either got them in the chords where it's like that doom doom. You know what I'm talking about, or you just recreate that in the drum bounce. So if you add a bunch of those breaks, you're good to go. And the second thing that you can hear quite a lot is just realizing I don't know the exact term how to try that, but if you add one extra note in between the two step, like is it a one step or what is it? If you know how you call that, write down in the comments. I don't really know. And of course we got some rolls here and there to make it sound a little bit more crisp. So and the reason why I've put one of the breaks in the hi-hat at that exact spot is because I already envisioned how I want the 808 to play out. That's why we move on with the 808. So because I feel like that is one of those specific things that are so common in NBA Youngboy beats, that you got that break right at the start and then you've got that straight bounce of doom doom. I kept the 808 pretty simple, to be honest. As I always preach in my videos, I've got one half a little bit less busy and the other half a little bit more busy. In this case, I've got the first half a little bit less busy and the second half a little bit more busy with the 808. And on top of that, I layered the 808 with a kick just to give it a little bit more punch. And the part that you can't get around that I just mentioned are of course the perks that you always hear in those beats. And I know you exactly know which perks I'm talking about. So I want to merge that now, like the whole perk sound selection, and just show you what I did. So of course we got this very specific perk sound. Then we have that laser tag type of ping sound. And last but not least, that triangle perk. In addition to the perks, we've got 3 more drum components, which are pretty simple too. So first of all, we got this accent snare, which just plays like one time every 4 bars, and 2 open head sounds. The first one on the 1 and a second one, which is a little bit tighter right before the snare. Just works well every time you do it. And before we listen to the final beat, I want to let you know that every single one of those drum sounds is included in my Lonely Cloud kit as well. So if you want to replicate that NBA Youngboy type sound, this is a perfect kit for you. And here's the final beat. So this is everything you need to make soulful NBA Youngboy beats. Quick reminder at the end of the video that you can get my kits by the first link in the video description. If you don't want to miss my next videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you now want to know how to make pain beats for NBA Youngboy, you can check out this video.